Said if I draft another corner, though, don't come home because you can just stay at the office. Although there's some pretty good corners we like in the first round.
I think everybody missed that last part, Judd, when he said, although there's actually some pretty good corners in the first round.
The nervous,
he's not wrong.
There's nothing like the draft week nervous Rick laugh. Plus, he makes a joke and it's okay, and people are like, that's not funny.
Oh, I think that was a good joke.
Uncomfortable. Well, no, the second part was, but the first part.
Oh,
the first part fell flat. All right, so my contention, and I just posted this in a column at our website, scorenorth.com. My contention is the most important person in the draft room tomorrow night is not Zimmer, it's not Spielman, it's not the scouts, it's Gary Kubiak. Because he's been studying this offense, seeing how the personnel fits, and now most importantly is going to come to them and say, all right, here's what I need. And I hearken back to the 2014 draft, which was Zimmer's first draft, and I think worked very well. At 9, they took Barr, which Zimmer clearly said, take Anthony Barr. And then they traded back into the draft, if you recall, at 32 with Seattle, and took Bridgewater, which Norv Turner, who of course hadn't had his falling out with Zim at that point, clearly said, I can make this work.
Yeah.
And he might have been right. So the contention from me is Kubiak is your most important person in the draft room. So my question to you is, with you playing the role of Kubiak, who schematically, offensive line wise, so I'm not talking about best player, great athlete off the charts. I'm talking about schematically with what they're going to do with the run game and also pass protection fits the best. So if I'm Rick and I come to you and I say, Gary, what do you need? Who do you need? Who do you want the most?
Well, there's a couple of guys, and I can't find this player's middle name, unfortunately. I was going to give you his full name, but Garrett Bradbury's wiki only has his first and last name, unfortunately. That's my guy, is Garrett Bradbury.
That's a good name, too.
He is a tremendous, tremendous athlete. I mean, as soon as he comes into the NFL, he's a top 3 athlete if he plays center. And he's one of the few guys in this draft where you would say, all right, move Pat Elflein to left guard because this guy is a franchise center. Pat Elflein was a 3rd-round pick, and we like where Pat Elflein was going from 2017. He had a really tough situation last year. You can understand why he had a hard year. And I always like to point out when people bring up his PFF grade, which was very, very poor last year, that he came back and played Aaron Donald, Fletcher Cox, and Akeem Hicks twice with no offseason. Like, good luck with that. Right?
And a questionable scheme, too.
Right, and
for
a
him.
questionable scheme. And having to pass protect all the time when pass protection was not really his big thing. And yet he's facing these amazing interior linemen. So I would still buy on Pat Elflein. I think he's a solid offensive lineman. But Garrett Bradbury is a different breed. He's a guy who can be a game changer. Our friend Brandon Thorne from the Trench Warfare podcast compared him to Alex Mack for the type of impact he could have. That is a game changer, a guy that you sign up for 10 years and is solid. He can take on the best players at that position, which in the NFC North is a huge, huge deal. And he is the perfect fit as an athlete. When you talk about dominating the combine, this guy dominated the combine. And if you go back and watch him play Clemson, that's Dexter Lawrence, that's Christian Wilkins. Those are top picks, maybe first, 2nd round pick. He was fantastic against those guys. Those are NFL caliber players for competition, and he was great. That would be my guy. Even if Jonah Williams is there, I still might take Garrett Bradbury. I think he's the best fit.
Any more questions about that, Judd, or can we move into the next question for Mr. Collar here?
Do you think that there's a good chance he's there at 18?
I think there is a decent chance. In the draft simulation I just ran, he went 15th.
So this sounds incredibly intriguing.
I mean, last year we thought that Frank Ragnow would be a late 1st or an early 2nd.
Another great football name.
For sure.
Ragnow.
Local kid, too.
And a Minnesota.
Right.
And he ended up going to Detroit earlier, and the Vikings, I think, were surprised. He was their guy, according to Doogie, that they wanted to take Frank Ragnow.
Yes.
And he was a perfect scheme fit, and he's a monster, and he's a smart guy, and his combine was off the chain or whatever, and he got taken.
Is that the first time you ever used off the chain?
I might be.
You seem very uncomfortable using it.
Was it off the chain or off the charts?
Both
I think
work.
I was going to go with off the charts, but I wanted to be more hip.
You can go off the chain.
I was going to say, don't football people go off the charts?
But is off the chain hip?
Off the chain, I think, is I think it is younger.
Yeah, all right. Then off the
Don't
chain.
you guys?
You can go off the hook.
You're
works
young
as well.
enough, Collar. Use off the chain.
Yeah, all right. Off the chain.
Off
Thank
the
you.
hook works as well, though.
Off the hook.
Off
sure.
the hook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
That refers to a
I'm
telephone.
an off the charts
though.
guy. Sorry.
Doesn't off the hook, like aren't
Not
isn't it-
anymore.
aren't
No,
you
don't worry
getting-
about that
No,
anymore.
not anymore.
Well,
Kids don't know what a phone is.
But,
anymore.
also, aren't you like getting off the hook as in you're in trouble? Now you're off the hook.
Yeah, like a fish getting off the hook. I think
that
that's where the
doesn't-
saying started, but
Doesn't really relate to the combine.
it's not really how it's used in a different way now. Trust me.
Football.
Anyhow,
No, so this, but this is intriguing to me
yes.
now. So you just gave me a scenario I actually love.
When somebody has a combine like Garrett Bradbury had, there's always that possibility that a team falls in love, and
Sure.
he is a guy that you fall in love with.
So potentially you're saying Elflein at left guard and Bradbury at center.
Yes, that would
And the
be in the
description you
Bradbury
just gave me,
situation.
the scouting report that you just gave me, I'm very comfortable with.
Now there is two other players that are intriguing from a positional value standpoint, which is Jonah Williams and Andre Dillard. Dillard, I think, goes a little earlier, but his age is kind of coming into play. He's 23 years old, and I think Williams
He's
is
over the hill.
I know. I think Williams is 21, though. There's a difference there. I mean, that's 2 more years of development until you even get to that guy's age.
Sure.
Like, I just ran into the fact that Stephen Weatherly is older than Daniil Hunter. Like, what? But that's how it works sometimes when
But
guys
Daniil
get
Hunter
drafted.
was really young when he got drafted, right?
And that's what you want. You
Right.
want somebody who's going to be younger, and then they have those development years under you as opposed to in college. But either one of those guys is a good prospect. The positional value element of it. If Jonah Williams is a left tackle and he does fit his own scheme, Dillard is a freak athlete and a great pass protector. There's just more value to taking someone who could be your left tackle than there is someone who is going to be your starting center.
All right, let me ask